Welcome to the Irish Arsenal GOONER podcast. It's Monday, the 25th of April. I'm your host, as always, Jonathan Giles. I'm joined by my regular guest at this stage, John Melia, Martin Stumville, Eric Shadowins, and Eamon Donnelly. How are you, lads?
Evening, Johnny.
Good evening. Good
Good to
evening.
be back.
Evening, Jonathan. I see Martin's back from Vienna there.
Yep.
Did you bring me any rolls with marmalade on it?
No, just a chocolate cake. That's it.
Well, that's all we had, marmalade. My day.
Marmalade, yeah.
I thought Eamon was down to burst out into Ultravox Vienna.
Yeah.
Of course, you can catch our show, as always, on SoundCloud, Spotify, ACAST, and on the Dublin Arsenal YouTube channel. Last week's show, we got a lot of listenership. It was 70 on 70 on SoundCloud. All the comments were towards myself and Eamon. They said, who are the other three Muppets? Of course, I was the best looking one, and Eamon was the deirdre of the show. Look, as always, any feedback that you like about the show, please leave it on the Dublin Arsenal YouTube channel. It's much appreciated. And Martin, of course, will tell us how many listeners we got week on week. So welcome back to Martin on the show this week. On this week's show, we'll be reviewing our victories on Saturday over United, the 3-1 victory, and last Wednesday's 4-2 away victory to Chelsea. We'll also be previewing this Sunday's away clash to Westham United, 4:30 on Sky Sports Premier League. Another must-win game in the race for fourth, but I think it's all looking good now. After what I said last week, I ate humble pie over the last two games. I think Michael was listening to me. The players got to kick up the arse, literally. And look what happened, 2 from 2. Two results I didn't expect happening at all. And I can say I'm back on the wagon again for a while, anyway, for Mikel Arteta. So there won't be any Mikel Arteta out tonight. Give it a couple of games, and myself and Eamon will be going at it, I'm sure. But we start as always. Before I go on to the Man United game, sorry, we'll be doing our goal of the month for April and player of the month as well. So we begin with our home 3-1 home victory over Man United on Saturday. First goals of the season by Perez and Saka, and of course a screamer from Saka to save the game as well, the tour goal. Ronaldo scored as well. That was his 100th Premier League goal for Manchester United. A very good performance, I thought, boys, on Saturday. I didn't expect that, nor the result, which we'll be going on to after the United game against Chelsea on Wednesday. So, very happy, 2 from 2 after the previous 3 games. I was just really happy with the way we started the game, and we, bar a few chances, I think we'd all agree, from United in the first and second half, they didn't really cause us problems. They're a team in decline. United, even Rannick said it, thank God they are a team in decline. And we've got a grip and forward again. I'll start with Eamon. What did you make of the game on Saturday?
Well, just on a couple of general points. We've gone from wake from your sleep to Pharrell Williams now, because I'm happy. And I just want to kind of just maybe get everybody an appeal for calm. That when we're bad and we lose a game, that there really isn't the need for all the vitriol that appears when people live their lives in real time. And when we're good and we win, there's probably no need for the triumphalism that goes on in real time. And I think the truth lies somewhere in between. And I think we should all kind of look at this for what it is. I remember John saying on the show a couple of weeks ago, and he was absolutely right. We were getting ahead of ourselves. But where we've landed now, I agree with that. But where we've landed now is we actually are ahead of ourselves, and we're in a very real foot race for the top four. With an advantage again. So things are looking a lot better. I thought you were going to review the Chelsea game first.
No, I thought we'd start with
Yeah, but
Saturday.
probably start with United. So
Yeah.
this might sound bizarre, but I thought it was a terrible performance. Well, no, you see, this is the thing. You're asking me.
It
No, you're
wasn't.
asking
I'd
me.
say an aim, but we won 3-1 against it. You have to take
Sorry, Jonathan.
every result as you see it.
Sorry, Jonathan. I'm going to explain why now. If you could just maybe have a cup of tea or something there. Right.
I don't want that.
I tell you what I thought it was. I thought it was a nervy performance. And I thought the Chelsea performance gave me the most pleasure in years watching the Arsenal. We'll get on to that when we come around to it. I thought the performance on Saturday morning was nervy. I think we got a bit lucky. VAR definitely went for us. And that's good because that hasn't happened much. Saka got kicked off the park as usual. McTominay was going around doing Roy Keane without being able to play and all of this type of stuff. But I just thought that we were open at the back. And I know that's down to the personnel we had. And I know we got a good start, but we really, really conceded a lot of the pitch to them. I don't know whether anybody's seen the bench cam recording of Arteta for 10 minutes on the official site. But I think you'll see how he was reacting on the sideline to what was going on. And I just didn't think it was a great performance, I have to be honest with you. And that being said, it was a great result. And this is a results business. And I was absolutely delighted. We were very good going forward. But it's a phrase I've used before, back in the old mercantile days. We were a bit like a Rolls Royce being driven by Laurel and Hardy. I mean, some of the chances we conceded were poor. Ramsdale makes a brilliant save, nearly makes a fluff of another. Cedric shanks the ball like something in the Talca Lodge pitch and putt course out for his own corner. That just indicated nerves to me, you know. But look, it is what it is. But we got goals, and that's something that we were bemoaning, and quite rightly, on the last show. But I just looked at the goals tally. We were saying on the last show, the reason why United were ahead of us was because they've got guys who can put the ball in the net, and that's what it's all about. They have 53 goals and we have 52, and we're 6 points ahead of them. So we've kind of turned that one around. But look, I've been harsh on El Neni on this show on a number of occasions. I think the quote I've used is, I'm sick of looking at him. But I have to single him out for two performances where he had to play as the deepest lying midfielder, and he had to get on the ball and be brave. He didn't always get turned away. I'd like him to get turned away. Partey does, but some of the situations Ramsdale put him in with some of the deliveries wasn't great. But he was brave and held his nerve and kept moving the ball quickly. And for a guy who hasn't played all season, he really he really seized his opportunity, and he deserves great credit for that. So overall, the crowd was brilliant. The result was brilliant. Sometimes I think it was chaotic, and to be honest with you, a chaotic game suited a chaotic Man United better than it did us. They had their chances, but we came out of it on the right side. It balances out the Southampton game when we played really well and didn't win. And that's what it's about. It's about getting 3 points. So really pleased, Jonathan. But don't fool yourself into thinking that was a good performance, because it wasn't.
A win's a win, Eamon, and you take anything at this stage of the season, especially.
Yeah, but the question I was asked was about the performance.
I thought the performance was really well now, considering after the previous three results, we could have had our heads down. So, in my opinion, I thought it was a bigger improvement than what we saw over Palace, Brighton and Southampton. Martin, how did you see the game Saturday against a very poor United, it must be said, but...
Yeah, I was, first of all, I was in Vienna, so I watched the Vienna GOONERS, which was quite good. So a different atmosphere anyway than in the River Bar. Much smaller, much more compact, but it was good. But yeah, I totally agree with Eamon. I thought we were so lucky that they actually got a result out of that. I mean, they hit the crossbar. Fernandes misses the penalty. VAR was twice for us. Like Ronaldo was just all over us. So look, we won 3-1. And I think Arteta said in his match thing, this game he could have lost, and he doesn't understand how we didn't win Southampton game. But that's football. And look, we needed a bit of something, there's so many things what can go against you. Fernandes should have been sent off, not only for the penalty, the way he ran up to the ball, but even the tackle then on Tavares. But what I actually was a bit scared about is and I thought that was made us a bit nervy, is that Tavares actually scored so early, because that just gave him wings and he just thought he can do anything. And that was just he's like, what the hell is he doing? It's just kind of it gave him so much motivation. He just tried to shoot from God knows where. He didn't do his thing, his defensive duties whatsoever, and it just kind of opened it up in the back. But yeah, look, we won 3-1. That's 3 points, great. But yeah, it wasn't as good as the Chelsea performance. That's one thing for sure. Yeah, there's so many things. And El Neni, yeah, the guy played the last game, I think the 4th of December, and he came in and he's just a proper professional. And since he's playing back in midfield now, he's actually taking part his job. And yeah, he's not the party one, but he's just loads of passes, and he made the game again for Odegaard, and that's what he wanted. And Odegaard run the game, and that's how we got our goals. But yeah, we were so lucky because if Ronaldo scored, the penalty goes in, that match could have ended like the last game we played against United, where we dominated as well and we lost. So look, 3 points, I take that any day. We're back in the top 4 race, but yeah, it wasn't the best game. It wasn't the worst game either, but we could have played a bit different, I think.
Eric, how did you see the game?
Yeah, I will agree with the lads. I think that the Chelsea performance was much better than the United performance. I think that the United performance lacked the same level of control, the same level of just possession. Even though in some ways in the Chelsea match we didn't always do it right. I think in the Man United match, it was very close to just being totally end to end. We set ourselves up to get countered a lot, and they were just making hay through smashing the ball up to Sancho, who could run at Cedric and just make mincemeat of him, basically. So I thought that was the lack of control, the lack of ability to kind of stop the ball and regain possession quicker was certainly a problem for us. But I also think that the key with the United performance is it does highlight, essentially what variance is, right? We had real chances to win or lose that game, just like we had real chances to win or lose against Southampton. And just like the Chelsea match, as well as we did play, could easily have ended up as, say, a draw. And the only point here is that we found a way to win. We found a way to get the goals. You look at Shaka's, which isn't exactly a high percentage chance, but those types of things make all the difference in a close race where none of the teams we're competing against, whether it's United or Tottenham or even West Ham, none of them are good enough to where they're going to show up against any opponent in the Premier League any week and win. They're not City and Liverpool, right? There's a reason we're competing with those teams, and it also means that we're just as likely to fall victim to that same thing. And the whole point being that I think what we have seen is maybe better football than people have given credit for. I think we've done some things in against both Chelsea and United that showed we were putting much more emphasis on how do we get the balls to our attackers quicker? How do we get Odegaard more involved, higher up the pitch? And I think all of those things led to us being a more effective attacking force, but also probably left us more open at the back. But ultimately, these are multiple games now where we have had chances to win the game. We managed to win 2. we didn't manage to win against Southampton, but ultimately it's a big 3 points in a game that could have gone either way. And we're going to have to see ourselves through some tough moments and some tough games going forward, where we're going to have to find ways to dig out results of games where, yeah, maybe we probably shouldn't have won that one. Or maybe it was close, to being a draw. And I think that'll be something to look for, is like who steps up in these big moments. And one of the things that Saka in particular, I think, has done, and Shaka, I think, has played well the last couple of games as well. So I think that they deserve credit for stepping up and taking responsibility, and they put in good performances.
Yeah. Not the best performances, as I said, but 3 points nonetheless. John, how did you see the game?
Heart attack football.
Yeah.
Honest.
Heart attack, but 3 points, and that's
no. Look, the result was everything.
Yeah, the result has to. Yeah, you have to give the team credit because we slated them.
But it was heart attack football. We got such a great start, and it was just insane. That first half, nearly as bad as the first half against Chelsea. We had an awful lot of possession. Eric said right. Sancho had Cedric all day long, and Alonga Tavares really struggled against Alonga on the wing. So they targeted the fullbacks, which is a weak spot. And in fairness, that pace should have got them more than what they got. The second half, I really thought half-time, get in, drill them in. But the first, up to the penalty, I thought we really couldn't string 2 passes again in the second half until Fernandes made a ball to that penalty. And I've never heard the pub erupt so much for a penalty in a long time. It was absolutely fantastic. A lot of credit, as you've already said, has to go to Elneny, Xhaka in particular. And Martin made a great point. Having Elneny there means Odegaard's playing much more forward. He's linking up with Saka, and Eddie's movement is causing problems. He's given the centre half something else to think about.
Yeah.
But to say that was a great performance, not a chance. The big thing that we scored a third, and not long afterwards, Martinelli came on, and there was huge calls, especially with the people around me watching it, for Tavares to be taken off. He was really struggling, and I thought Martinelli coming on helped steady that ship. The last 20 minutes, he didn't have a shot on goal, and Tavares got a bit of protection up front. Alonga had to help out his fullback. I thought that was great management by Arteta. He showed a lot of faith and courage in leaving Tavares on. Another manager would have reefed him off because he was all over the place. He was panicking. Passer was going astray. He really was struggling. But putting Martinelli on helped him steady the ship, and he sorted out the game. I thought the last 20 minutes was the calmest I was for the whole game. Because I actually thought we actually started to control the game, which we didn't do until then. It was really hectic, heart attack football. Are not great. They need to do basically what Arteta's done for Arsenal, strip them down to the bare bones and rebuild again. I said last week that we struggled with a lack of experienced players, but I think against Chelsea and again against United, those experienced players that we do have, Xhaka, Elneny, and to some respects Odegaard stepped up and helped guide that team. So I was delighted to see Tomiyasu come back. I know he's only on for a couple of minutes, but if he's fit enough to start the remaining games, that's going to give us a huge boost in defence. A huge boost. So 2 big wins. Great result. Always great to beat United. I don't take my heart. I've got 5 more games left. If I have to watch more games like that, oh my dear God, they just pick me up at the ICU. That's where I'll be. Send flowers.
I think as well, like
I will know if I last if I have to watch more games like that.
One of the reasons as well, I think, was why the performance wasn't as good as the Chelsea one, because I think the Chelsea game was such an emotional moment for them. After losing 3 games and then go to Chelsea and actually winning 4-2, and then only having 2 days break, where he said that Arteta said, look, we didn't get any, recovery, or, you just be 2 days after, you be back on the pitch, like, or 2.5 days after. So to come back from that, like, you're emotionally drained, so like you won't be performing twice the same thing on it. But they still put in a good performance in some ways. But like, it wasn't as good. So we have a full week to recover now, and then we can go for West Ham,
One of the stats I heard about this match that really stood out to me, which I think about explains the chaos factor, is that Tavares had more shots than Ronaldo, which just sounds absolutely ridiculous. But I think it does go to show just like how end to end it was, and everything else, to the point that, you know, there really was this this just intensity of back and forth running. That, yeah, I totally agree with John. I was like, this is like watching a heart attack. It really was intense stuff. So
fair play to Tavares though in some ways, because I mean the last couple of games he had, like, been reefed off at halftime after 30 minutes, you know, coming up, like, you know, like trying to defend, and then he got, as I said, he got the goal, and I think just kind of said, look, I have to show what I can do, but like it just didn't work out that way, you know. But like he was just like, as you said, he had more shots like than anybody else, like, which is amazing, like, you know. But he shouldn't do that. That's not his game. That's not what he's there for. But look. It went out well, so we can't, poor fella, like, you know, they interviewed him afterwards as well, like I said, what are you doing, like, you know. But yeah.
Hey man, are you old enough to remember Ray Parlour's first game for Arsenal at Anfield, where he was helter-skelter all over the pitch? He really was. No one knew what to make of him, and that's a bit like Tavares. What reminded me of him. He was.
And I also remember Kevin Keegan, John, was doing the co-commentator that night, and he really kind of Kevin Keegan'd himself. He tried to crack a joke. If you're Irish, come into the parlour, and thinking, like, what's that got to do with anything, you know? But that just shows you what he was made of as a commentator. But I do remember that game. He was kind of running around a bit like a lunatic. And he was only 18 though. He was only 18 that night, John, you know?
He definitely grew into a player. But Douglas St. Tavares, you know, he just reminded me because he was trying to do everything.
Yeah. But again, like, I think Tavares was somebody that United targeted, and that's grand. I mean, they don't, like, United are chaos. We know this, but they've also got very, very
United, I think, as well. You know,
they've also got Jonathan. They've also got very, very good offensive players, and
they're not a team unit, though.
If you know, listen to me. If you turn the game into chaos against them, it suits them more than it suits us.
I don't think, as well as that, Eamon, Ronaldo's head wasn't in it as well, for obvious reasons, you know.
I'd hate to say if his head was in it.
You know, I think when you have an interim manager as well, they know a lot of them are gone. Like Lingard and Pogba, you know, they just want the season over with. You could see that on Saturday. They have no interest playing for it.
Well, I'm not sure.
You can see that the body language in itself.
I was watching the game in a bar in Rome, and I was surrounded by that. I was the only gooner there. Well, there was one other, you know, and they were definitely in the ascendancy. While they hadn't got the ball, they looked more dangerous. But I would just ask any of you, if you talk about tiredness, and you're probably right, Martin, but I just ask any of you to watch the bench cam on Arsenal.com and watch Arteta on the sideline. It's a 10-minute clip, and you'll see that it's not just about being tired. It's about the spaces we were in, the where we're taking up, and all of that type of stuff. And he was getting really agitated on the sideline in terms of our positioning. But, you know, isn't it great to be having a conversation about we weren't that great, you know, and yet we saw off one of our challengers in the 3-1. Isn't it great, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. Amo, that was the thing I actually really noticed a lot, is that we had pushed Odegaard much higher up in the pitch, both against Chelsea and against United, which is sort of what I had called for at the weekend.
Yeah.
But because El Neni was the one replacing Lokonga, the distance between that line and where Odegaard and Saka were was huge. And so anytime anything broken there, it was United was winning the ball. And I just thought we ended up struggling in a pretty significant way to maintain that possession, because we were trying to play a pass 10 or 15 yards longer. And when it worked, right, Odegaard and Saka were in. But when it didn't work, we just turned over the ball in a vulnerable spot.
Yeah,
and I thought that's where
you're right.
the ball went out to Sancho.
You're absolutely right, Eric. And the difference with that, and we decided to play a bit more compact and deeper against Chelsea, so that didn't become as evident in that game, you know.
Yeah, well, and Saka was tracking back way more in the Chelsea match than he was in the
Yeah.
United match because of the formation. So that was also part of it.
Yeah. I'll quickly get to your man of the matches, lads. Eamon, who is yours?
Oh, Granit Xhaka.
John?
Shaka.
Eric?
Yeah, probably Shaka. Though a shout out to Saka for another just great performance.
Martin?
Yeah, like obviously Xhaka had like you have to go, but like actually I would actually give it to El Neni. It's not like maybe a man of the thing, but like he's just because he doesn't play that often, you know, like what he played in the last 2 games, that was just like a amazing performance, you know. So I give it to El Neni.
Yeah, probably give it to Zach and myself for the screamer and a big first goal of the season. I didn't think that was his first goal for the season, but there you have it. That result leaves us fourth on 60 points, 2 ahead of Spurs, and that 0-0 draw against Brentford really helped us out as well because that game was the Saturday evening game, wasn't it? So it's going to come down to that Thursday fixture on May the 12th deluxe, but still a few games in between that. Things can change quickly, as we know from the last 2 matches. Yeah, it's a funny old game, they say. We go to Wednesday's game, 4-2 away to Chelsea, and Ketty with 2, Saka with a penalty, Smith Rowe with another goal at the bridge. He scored there at the end of last season as well. Ferner and Azpilicueta with the goals for Chelsea. I thought Nketiah had a super game on Wednesday night. Took his goals really well. As I said last week, I said we'd beat Chelsea. I actually said 4-2 as well. I have to edit that bit into the show from that. No, completely, as I said at the start of the show, completely unexpected. In fairness, Eamon did say that he felt we would have got something out of the game, and we did, but I didn't think a 4-2 victory. Cracking game though. I think the stadium not being full as well did help us. It wasn't as intimidating as it normally is, but Chelsea were very poor on Wednesday night, and even Tuchel said himself that they're so angry as I've seen him in a while. You know, that's down to us how well we played on Wednesday. I'll go to John. A top game, a really good result, wasn't it, on Wednesday, John?
A fantastic result, but we talked about chaos for the Man United game. That first half was chaos as well. Every time each side attacked, you were amazed there wasn't a goal. Both defences were 6s or 7s. We got a great start, took the lead, and done a typical Arsenal thing. 60 seconds later, it's 1-0. We took the lead again, and again, 60 seconds later, and it's 2-0. Crazy game. There's chances galore. I'm amazed there was only 2-2 at half time. We started with what I thought was 5 at the back, 3 centre half starting, brought holding in. And I thought we were going to play wing backs. And I think we did start the first 10, 15 minutes like that, but quickly switched to a back 4. But it was just chaos the first half. But I have to say, our second goal, Smith Rowe, we were defending like clowns. The ball was pinging around. We were passing the ball at the edge of our box. Chelsea were pressing. We could all smell the mistake coming, and Chelsea were going to score. And then Xhaka nutmegged Alonso. Brilliant stuff. Broke into midfield. The ball was played forward, and on the edge of the box, Smith Rowe just passed it into the bottom corner. Well, now we're going to talk about our goal of the month soon. That's my goal of the month. I'm telling you straight off. I thought it was absolutely fantastic. Superb football,
build-up play, yeah.
Incredible coolness from Xhaka. Just he didn't lose the head. It would have been very easy to panic and just boot the ball as far as he could, but he didn't. Fantastic goal. In the second half, we talked about at half-time against United. I thought he was going to bring them in, calm them down, get them some shape. We did that on Wednesday night. I thought we had our shape on Wednesday. We're going to sit back and catch them on the counter. You praised Eddie for his performance on Wednesday night. His movement was different class. We haven't seen that from an Arsenal striker all season. His first goal, you might get Lacazette, could maybe force that mistake. There's no way he has the pace to take advantage of it.
Yeah.
Terrific finish. And he forced a mistake for their third goal. And
Yeah, they didn't know how to handle him. Yeah,
Arsenal's defenders for the last 10 years getting mixed up. And again, really quick, really smart little toe poke finish. A fantastic performance from Eddie. But I thought we controlled that second half. I thought we played the football we wanted to play. We forced Chelsea to play the football we wanted them to play. They never really looked like laying a glove on us in the second half. Really top performance. And I really enjoyed that match a hell of a lot more than the other one, because I thought we controlled the second half. We actually played the football we wanted to play.
Yeah, top results. I thought Eddie played absolutely fantastic. Yeah, the way he chased down Christensen to make that mistake for the first goal, and then the second was just a ping pong, wasn't it? He just took advantage of it. Yeah, Chelsea were really poor though. Eamon, you said last week that we get something, and you were right.
And the reason why I said that was because I just felt that we played like a team in the box seat under pressure in games that we were expected to win. So the flip side logic of that was, well, maybe if the pressure's off us when we're playing a game that we're not expected to win, we could go up with a young team and do something. And that's ultimately how it turned out, Jonathan, you know?
As I said, on last Wednesdays we beat them, yeah.
Yeah, and I felt we could go up there and get something. Now, John is right. The first half was a bit chaotic, but it didn't have to be. And the second half, I thought we really matured, you know. And it's the most pleasure I've got from watching the Arsenal in a long time, because of the gloom and doom, the inexperience, and it was all bad. And then we went up there and we put fizz into it, a lot of fizz. We played them off the park, folks. I know the first half was ping pong. We played them off the park. We created the better chances. We deserved to win the game. We played them off the park out in their stadium, regardless of whether it was half full or not. We played them off the park, created more clear-cut chances. Now, I thought Ramsdale was shocking for the first goal. He went down like a roll of liner. And I think he's getting too involved in the game, where he's almost become a cult of himself, and he needs to kind of get concentrating on his goalkeeping. I didn't like that first goal. I think he's got to get down to that ball. But the second goal, as John says, I mean, it went from Duffy Circus, to Mozart in jig time. It was a brilliant goal, brilliant finish. Granit Xhaka on the edge of his own box, absolutely fantastic. And you talk about a connection with fans and the team. Well, if that's what the team can do, fans will get behind it. I want to talk about Nketiah for a second. I've always rated this boy. And what I said on last week's show was that he has all of the tools to be like Ian Wright if he just put a bit of effervescence into things, that he doesn't bubble around like Wright did. Well, he bubbled around Stamford Bridge, and I'll tell you what, when he puts it in and he has belief and energy, you can see what he has in his game. He is going to score goals for fun, for somebody, probably not us. And if you ask me the reason why that is, I'll tell you why. Because that's all he's ever done at every level he's played. And I was delighted for the boy. He's probably not going to be with us next year. But you know what? If his goals and performances over the last few games of the season contribute to something big, he'll have made his mark at our club. I've spoken about El Neni already. And I just kind of, the last thing I want to say is that no matter what, it's always great to go up to the ground of CSKA Fulham, National Front headquarters, and take a win away. It's really sweet. I was there the day we lost 6-0 when they were under Mourinho, standing behind the goal, and I'll never forget that day. So any win up there to me is almost like a personal triumph, and to come out of there with a win was great. So it was an un-Barlow-esque event. There was no frustration, Deirdre. So there you go.
Yeah, top performance on Wednesday, and Akechi, outstanding. Eric, how did you see the game on Wednesday? Good result, wasn't it?
It's a great result, and I mean, one you just have to be delighted with. I think we were both very cautious with predicting the result for that one, and I think with kind of good reason and also just yeah. But generally speaking, I think a lot of us had a consensus where, could we see Arsenal getting a result there? Sure. It's like, is that the most likely one? Maybe not. And I was delighted to see it as much as anybody else. And I thought, yeah, in particular, that was just, we played well. We played really well. I think that the most important part of that match, though, to me, was the way we pressed, particularly in the first half. And that was led by Eddie, and that was led by Odegaard. And I think it just made a huge difference in terms of what they were able to do in terms of working the ball through the middle. And I have to say, I was pretty harsh on Eddie last week. I don't know how much of my opinion I've necessarily changed, but I think that's the hardest I've ever seen him work. He chased down every lost cause. He put pressure on every single defender, and he got the rewards for it. I mean, he put in effort. Other people made mistakes, and he took advantage. And that's all you can ask from him. And look, I think he played well, and fair play to him. But beyond that, I thought Odegaard just did a great job of controlling that game. Really set the tempo in the attack, and we were doing a lot of good work to create chances. Particularly in the first half, I think we struggled to control them on the break as much. But really, come the second half, it was ours to lose. From there, we had really sort of figured them out. So yeah, I mean, look, I think that it was an interesting game beyond that. The tactical battle got really crazy in the second half. I noted to John during the match, I was like, Tuchel at one point was sort of playing a 5-1-4 with Conte pushed all the way up almost as the second striker. It was just a really wild game to watch in terms of what the different managers were doing and how they were adjusting to each other. But yeah, I think really what you have to say too is that, yeah, the Smith Rowe goal is just unreal. That finish, let alone Xhaka megging somebody, that finish from Smith Rowe was just as smooth as you like it. It was really classy stuff. And yeah, so and Saka taking the penalty, demanding the penalty, I think was a really interesting and seemingly good development. He stepped up, he said, "This is mine," and he buried it. So fair play to him.
Martin, what did you make it a result on Wednesday?
Well, I was on the plane listening to the podcast from last week, so I got my mentally kick up, thing was just great. So the positivity was just coming out of me, when I just entered to Vienna, it was just phenomenal. then I posted the lineup for the game, and then I had to get the shitstorm on social media.
Yeah.
And I said, "Oh my God, if they can just read this before they go out, all they need is for motivation. That's what it is." And exactly that's what happened. It was just anybody who would predict it 4-2, just in your heart you always do it, but you never would have thought that that's going to end up like that. But it did, and it's great to see. And I just think the change what we had with El Neni coming in, and I think as well is for me, Holding is a part of that as well, because I just think it changed a bit of the system, and I think we weren't as predictable as we were in the other 3 games. So that kind of helped, but it was chaos. They changed the tactics, I think 3 times, whatever we did. So and it was just a strange thing to see. But yeah, the only thing what I would say about the Xhaka thing, like it was great to see when he nutmegged Alonso. The only problem is if it wouldn't have worked out and we would have got a goal, we would have been the other way around. Like, like we just said, fucking idiot. You know what you did that for? But it didn't. It went down thing, and that's the way we score goals. When we score goals, they're beautiful. They're absolute thing, and it was probably the goal of the month, definitely. And that's what we needed. And second half was we just dominated them, and we just and Saka taking the penalty is like the young fella, like he missed the penalty in I think some Chelsea fans were singing that last time. That like why don't you score like that for England, and look, it took another penalty now, so he's 2 for 0 now. So yeah, but it's good. The only one thing for as well, Ramsdale, and I agree with Eamon there as well, is he not being cocky, but like he's just too. I don't know. Even the penalty for the United game when Fernandes kicked it on the post, he didn't save the ball, and he just went absolutely bananas. It's great to see that he has the emotions, but he would have been in the wrong direction. Fernandes would have scored. It would have been something different. So why are you celebrating that? If you hold it, like fantastic. But I think I think you should concentrate a bit more on the basics and. He had us in a few situations where you think, and he made a few good saves as well. But I think it was the deflection of Xhaka who kind of made him kind of not going down as quick as he did. But look, it is what it is. It was a helter-skelter game. We won it, and that's good. So let's hope we can take that momentum over to the Westham game and get another 3 points. At least I think that would secure 6th for us anyway.
If
we
I
win
could
the
just
Westham game.
add one thing, I forgot to mention. I thought one of the things that really worked for us against Chelsea was to move Ben White out to right back, and I just thought that did a lot to balance us, especially with Tavares being pushed so far forward, and that's the sort of thing that wouldn't surprise me to see against West Ham, but anyway, worth adding.
Yeah. Your man of the match, Eamon?
Oh, Eddie Nketiah. He made it happen.
Yeah.
John?
I'm going to go with Xhaka again. I thought it was another terrific performance from him. Really do. Not just because of what he did for the Smith goal. I just thought he directed the team. He was the leader of that team that night, especially in the second half when we took control. So I'm going to go Xhaka again.
Eric?
2 excellent performances.
If you scored 2 goals, you're a man of the match.
Exactly. He must have listened to the Ian Wright interview with an Arsblog, where Ian Wright basically told him, look, if you could have been our number 9 if you put your efforts in, and he didn't, because with Aubameyang gone and Lacazette probably gone as well, he had a big chance to actually grab that position, and he could be in striker there for a long time. Yeah, but at that moment, it's just 2 goals, that always helps, and so man of the match for Nketiah, definitely.
Yeah, I think Nketiah for me as well. One of his best performances of the season by a mile, yeah. We move on to our preview of Sunday's game now against West Ham United. 4:30 kickoff. The last time we played West Ham was at home, December the 15th. Martinelli and Smith Rowe scored the goals. Eamon was at that game. I thought Martinelli's goal was really, really good. That's when he was on a really good streak for us in December. West Ham starting to peel away now. Their main concentration now, and understandably, is the semi-final of the Europa League. Their chances of finishing 4th now is all but gone. Thankfully for us, it looks like it's between us and Spurs now. I can only see a victory on Sunday. I think they won't be feeding their first team much for this one. I'm going to go with 3-0. John, how do you see it going? I let it that out at the end.
West Ham have none of their first choice centre halves are available for this match. Suspension and injury.
This is a game where we can get at them. Yeah,
I wouldn't be surprised to see Declan Rice play centre half. He's a good player. He's not as good as the English press will make you believe. He can probably do a decent job at centre half, but that leaves them right in midfield. Yeah, it's typical Arsenal. I'll go into this one expecting to win, but after the chaos of the last 2 games, it's not going to be with a hell of a lot of confidence. If we boss the midfield away, I hope we boss the midfield. But I hope we see a little bit more control than we've had the last 2 games. Bit more second half Chelsea than first half United. Thank you very much.
Eamon, how do you see it going? You were at the home match back in December and you were really impressed then. And
yeah, well, I've been saying for months that West Ham would run our squad.
Yeah, I remember saying that to you as well.
My brother-in-law is a season ticket holder, so I've been to West Ham a couple of times this season. I've seen the Europa League games, and they're not as good as us. They don't have a big enough squad. They're lacking up front, so they don't cause you, danger. They're a solid outfit that's been managed very well. And when they run a bit light, they struggle. They don't get lots of goals either. They don't concede a lot of goals either, so I wouldn't go for a 3-0 or anything like that. The one thing I'd say is this.
Victory, yeah.
It depends. It depends on what they do on Thursday night, right? If they're still in that tie on Thursday night, well then, if I was David Moyes, I'd wrap Jarrett Bowen in cotton wool. I'd wrap Declan Rice in cotton wool. And I really would. If they have a chance of going through in the second leg, I'd put out half a team. And if that happens, then it's up to us to be brave and to get control of the bloody game and beat that half a team, right? I'll go for. I hate predicting Arsenal wins because I'm like the Pink Panther in the cartoon with the swarm of bees over his head. But I'm going to go for the 2-0.
Eric, how do you see the game going Sunday? Definitely another must-win, isn't it, for 4th place?
Yeah, and I think this it's another chance, right? And I do you expect us to win every match before down the end of the season, right? So I think we should be careful about saying, look, we have to win. It's a must win.
It is a must win, Eric. So every game is a cup final now to the end of the season.
Every single one,
we can't afford to lose now. Momentum,
look, I'm not saying to you that it's not a game we should go in and say this is a good chance to win this one. We have to take this one. What I'm saying is we have to also expect that we're not going to win every single match until the end of the season, right? And I don't think that
our optimism is gone already, Martin.
No, I just think that there's some level of variance here. Now, I think West Ham is one of the chances that we have to take to get a win because most likely they're not going to field the full strength lineup. And if that's the case, you have to go all in on we have to score goals here. And quite frankly, for Arsenal, it's a chance to try to make up some goal difference. Yeah. And so to me, if they come out with a half strength lineup, I think 3-0 is the target.
Yeah.
Martin, how do you see the game going?
Yeah, very similar. It is really like what's going to happen on Thursday night. Like they're playing at home, so there's a good chance that they're probably still in the game. Not having the defenders they already not have for the game, so that's something. But like that's Arsenal, we play against teams, like nobody expecting anything. We went to Everton, like the fans nearly walked out and then we lost. So that's Arsenal, typical Arsenal. That would be so fitting as well. But I'm not hoping that this is going to happen. Is it a must win? It's not a free shot. That's for sure, 100%. I take a draw, but I don't want to draw. But I that's what it could end up like, no problem. But yeah, like I think if they only have a half a team, we have chances to score goals. We need to score goals because I think it could still come down to that in the end. And there's some dodgy games in the end, like Newcastle and Everton. Like Everton might be for the last game fighting for relegation. Newcastle on a great roll at home. So if we can get the points early, if you can get 9 points in the next 5 games, I think that should seal it up. And if we win against West Ham, as I said before, I think that's gonna secure top 6, and that's exactly what everybody expected that we're going to be, back in Europe. And if that happens, of course, if we go back forward, that would be great. But if we can win that game, I think that would secure European football for next year. And I think that would as well give us a bit more confidence for the last 4 games. So I hope we're going to get, I don't know if we want to make 3-0. I'd say go 2-0. Because I don't think they have too much going forward. But yeah, let's hope and fingers crossed. It's probably going to end 3-0 for them. I don't know.
Or another crazy 3-all draw like it was last season.
True.
Yeah. No, you can only see a victory the way, as I say, Eamon says, it all depends on Thursday's game, the way the first leg goes, but they're starting to tire out now. You can see that, but look, London Derby and with not many home games left as well. West Ham are always up for a game against us as well. They always made it tough at Upton Park and at the London Stadium. So I can, after the last 2 results, I'd be very optimistic for an away victory there. That brings us on to the goal of the month, and I'll go through the picks for you now. Odegaard beat Brighton, Nketiah's first half goal against Chelsea, Nketiah's second half goal against Chelsea, Smith Rose against Chelsea. John has already pinpointed that one. Nuno Tavares for his first goal for Arsenal against United on Saturday, and also Granit Xhaka's screamer against United as well. John, we already know your one, don't we?
You already got mine. Smith Rowe, Chelsea, all day.
Eamon, your one?
Absolutely, Smith Rowe. It was. We've scored 2 goals like that this season. One at home against Southampton, and they were just terrific,
Eric, your goal of the month for April, please be something different.
Definitely Smith Rowe's goal. It's not.
You let us down again. Fair play to you. Martin, please be something different for the listeners.
No, look, it is just the only goal really where the kind of team really was a team goal. The rest was kind of there was always a bit of something else, they could have been own goal in Chelsea game, as he said, Tuchel, then when really Arsenal goals. So, and a penalty, you never give anything for it anyway. But now, Smith Rowe, definitely. And what as well, which actually just mentioned, I don't know if anybody's seen that, with some Invincibles been in the stadium for the United game, and Henry meeting Xhaka and Smith Rowe with Bergkamp. I think that was a great moment, in the interview what they had when they were talking about. So yeah, he's got a great goal, and I'm hoping meeting them 2 royalties, and giving a bit of advice. I think that gears them up for West Ham.
I'd just like to point out none of my guests were paid off to say that pick for goal of the month.
What's yours?
I don't go with Granit Xhaka against Man United. I thought it was a cracking finish, and he deserved that goal after his last 2 performances against Chelsea.
That's your new shiny toy. It's the most recent one that you got,
This will be Eamon's last appearance on the show.
I've been trying for that for weeks, and you haven't sacked me. I don't know what I have to do.
His conduct over the last 2 shows with Arteta out brigade, disgrace. Thank God that I don't listen back to any of these, or I'd be eating my words. No, look, they were all top goals, but Granit Xhaka's will be mine, but Smith Rowe just for the movement from back to front, top goal. It kind of reminds you of the goals from Ramsey against Fulham, and then we scored a similar goal then, I think the following season, just for that the movement. Aubameyang
and I were at that game behind the goal for Ramsey against Fulham. Yeah.
Wasn't it? Really was now. He started it and he finished the Ramsey, and look, great player, wasn't he, Ramsey? Just that scumbag Shawcross. I'd love to get him now. Lucky not living here. Just a bit of news. Player of the month, sorry. And I didn't put any picks for this because it was a very mixed month. So I'm just going to give it to my one would be to Nketiah just for the performance he had against Chelsea. Eamon, who would yours pick of the month be for April?
The player of the month.
Yeah.
I'm gonna say Granit Xhaka.
Yeah. John, player of the month for you? Can't hear you, John.
You're on mute, John. Yep.
I picked Granit Xhaka for man of the match.
I think it sounds better with
United, so I'm gonna go with Granit Xhaka.
Again, these pundits were not paid off. Jordan D's picks. Martin, don't say Chris the Granit Xhaka. It's just for arguments.
We're gonna pick Tavares, will we, for the you know? It came out. No, like look, you have to see like where for the whole month, like what Xhaka did. Like you've been put on left back and then like back. Go with Xhaka as well, yeah.
Right, okay. You're not invited next week. Eric, to save yourself a spot for next week, who was your pick?
Bukayo Saka.
Thank God.
I think even in the losses,
well.
he was always in absolute danger. I think he just caused. He took Alonso out and just went by him like he was nothing. Like it was just. I mean, it was serious stuff from Saka in that match, and again, he's there. He's making vital chances in the United match. He's scoring penalties. I mean, he has stepped up in a big way, and I think that you look at some of the chances against Southampton where we had a real chance to win that one, and we created the chances to do it, right? But you think of the Saka chances blocked there. Like he has been getting in really dangerous positions the whole month, even if he hasn't necessarily scored every chance.
I think as well as the most refreshing thing with Bukayo Saka this season was the confidence he took his 2 penalties against Chelsea United after that whole thing with the Euros, where his head could have went down with the stick he got. He's dispatched them 2 penalties with great confidence, and in my opinion, I think by far the player of the season for me, the way he's really stepped up, he's really had a top season. So, so I'm really delighted for him, the way he's the confidence to take penalties again, he'd probably be sold for 50 million or something to Madrid in the summer or something, but anyway. In some news, the Florida Cup will be going to America. For 2 preseason games. I know Eric is sorting us out, he said beforehand. Orlando City on July the 20th and Chelsea on July 23rd. Eric informed me there that Saka's worth at least £150 million. Are you listening, Man City? And that's just his bio clause. Yeah, we're playing in those 2 games. Hopefully the Emirates Cup might be added to that as well the following weekend. It's usually on the long weekend in August, so it's good to see us getting our pre-season fixtures there out early. Also there this evening, David Ornstein, a reliable source, and normally spot on with transfers. Gabriel Jesus could be moving to us in the summer. Only rumours and transfer talk at the moment, but I'll throw it out there to you lads. Would you take Jesus if he came to Arsenal?
Yes.
Yeah.
Why wouldn't you?
He scored twice against us in August. Yeah, I take him big time. Yeah, he's a proven goal scorer, isn't he? Anytime he started for City, he produces the goals. Yeah.
Maybe we should hold on for Vlahovic.
Well, there is talk. Actually, Ornstein says Vlahovic is available in the next transfer window to us. There's a bio clause, so
I think
he satisfies aim.
Martinez and Jesus would be all right. I
wouldn't mind Erling Haaland.
Yeah,
if City went bankrupt in the next 2 months or so. No, look, it's exciting. Yeah. So I think an exciting summer is ahead for us lads again in the transfer window. I think Edu has his targets, and I think they'll be fulfilled. I think,
Let's hope so.
We'll get somebody.
Yeah, we'll end up getting some striker off Shelbourne or something.
Well, there was talk of Tammy Abraham again.
Yeah, I'd take Abraham.
Around,
I would take Abraham. He's had a top season at Roma, hasn't he? He really has.
Good.
Well, can we finish this season first?
Yeah, we let's get the next 5 games out of hand. Just as well, Hector Bellerin won the Copa del Rey with Betis at the weekend. So that's good news for him. He assisted a goal as well. So, probably not going to come back to us, but look, nice to see our players doing well out on loan. Is there any other Arsenal chat, lads, or anything to do with the Dublin Arsenal?
Just something that struck me on the way home from. I was in Rome for the weekend, as I said, and something that struck me on the way home, and maybe it's something we can look at the end of the season. The plight of Everton Football Club.
Yeah.
Now, despite the fact that I've had to single-handedly defend the honour of the Arsenal Supporters Club in the River Bar under the most extreme provocation to our neighbours, that's not a club I'd like to see get relegated. I think they may get relegated. The reason why I'm mentioning it is this. Our owners, we always assume that our owners do everything wrong, right? And I remember being badgered by some guy in a bar in London saying, which would you rather have, Usmanov or Kroenke? And me mate, the Grim Reaper, jumped in. He said, well, if I had to choose, preferably neither. But if I had to choose, preferably the one that's not a war criminal, right? And Usmanov headed off to Everton, and they did all these things like appointing a big-name manager who walked out on them. And look at the mess they're in now. So I just think that, the owners get enough stick at the Arsenal, and I'm just saying, I'd much rather be in the position that we're in and rebuilding our club the way we're doing it than the money they've spent and where they are in. Because if you look at where we were Christmas 12 months ago, everybody was saying, we were a laughing stock and Everton were flying high. And they had their big name managers with Ancelotti and Benitez, and they're in a mess. So I think that's something we should get it at the end of the season when we look back and see where we are and take stock. We're 7 points away from European football. Let's see where it takes us, and but let's not all think that every time something goes wrong that it's darker than dark. And after this, you can watch an episode of Nightlight where you will see. Right, I'm just saying.
I prefer to watch a series on crime called what? No, Everton look to be gone, and probably by the last day of the season.
They are in real trouble, lads. They really
and I think what's really done Everton, which of chances of staying up, I think as well to be worth mentioning, is the sacking of Sean Dyche at Burnley has actually turned their fortunes around with this new lad, Jackson. This is his name. They picked up 7 points. I don't think Everton have done enough, to be honest, this season to deserve to stay up. They've been the weakest.
Looking at their fixtures,
but saying that, there is another thing. Leeds have to play ourselves, City and Chelsea after tonight's match. They're drawn, I think, is a 0-0, lads, at the moment. If they lose them 3 games, with a possibility, they could even slip down quietly, but I think my money will be on Everton to go down. I think the bottom 3 are as they are now, yeah. I think the momentum's with Burnley, definitely. But you never know. Look, they became in hand, haven't they? Everton 6 games ago, yeah. I don't know why they put Lampard in charge for if you want to stay up, but he's not proven as a manager, and it beggared belief, that appointment, to be honest. But the whole club's a mess. Is there anything else, lads? Any free drink going into Dublin Air Supporters Club or anything?
Not for
the
you.
parts that we've gone to? I just like to say this will be John's last appearance.
Sunday game, West Ham.
I'll be there.
Be there.
I'll
I
be
think,
there.
and just a short report for the women.
Finish as well. What games are you going to at the Emirates, lads? Myself and Martin are going to Leeds, I know.
Yeah,
I'm going to Leeds.
So we all get a good hiding after Leeds.
And then we all going to Everton, I think. I think there's about 50 of us going to Everton game.
Are you going to as well, Eric? I think you are, aren't you?
No, not Everton, no.
You're not going to any more, no?
I'm going for the
not this one. We just around travel schedules couldn't make it work, but go more next year.
Yeah, you're not a true fan. And John John's going to Nunn. He wants to grow some hair before the start of August. Best of luck to you with that. Martin, you wanted to mention briefly about the Arsenal women's team?
Yeah, just obviously on Easter Sunday they got knocked out against Chelsea in the semi-finals in the FA Cup. Unfortunately, they lost 2-0. But in the league they won yesterday against 3-0 against Everton away. So it's still not gonna. I don't think Chelsea's gonna lose any games, so they're probably gonna come second in the league. But yeah, it's a team with it. That's it. Not much more to say. There's not really much more happening. I think there's 3 more games left in the league for the women.
Yeah, best of luck to the Arsenal women as well. A good show tonight, lads. A long one. On next week's show, of course, we'll be reviewing hopefully an away victory to West Ham, and also previewing the Leeds United game at home as well. Of course, you can catch our show, as I said at the top of the show, SoundCloud, Spotify, ACAST, Dublin Nurses Supporters Club channel. I think we're on everything now. And if anyone would like to sponsor us, please do, so I can retire early. Like to thank Eamon, John, Eric and Martin for your input again. It went a lot smoother than last week. And until next week, lads, enjoy your week and have a good one.
See somebody's on Sunday. See you, lads.
Yeah, see you later, lads.
I'll see you
Bye,
at the
have a
end of
good
the
day.
season.
Bye bye.